Here we have sometimes problem because we are Muslim.
Yes.
So I personally do not like pork and I never eat pork. And I found, okay, there are several foods where you have to always ask whether it is made with swine or for types of food. We have to survive because we have to eat in Mensa.
Yes.
So Mensa has different types of food they provide. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So we miss food, of course, from our country, of course, because we like or we're fond of spicy food.
Yes.
Here there is no spicy, they put some salt, some pepper and that's all. But we survive since long time and now we get used to it. So I can see that I cannot eat really spicy food as I should have been eaten before while I was in Bangladesh.
Yes.
So it also changed my
Eating
food
habits.
behavior.
Yes.
The food in Germany is without spice, and we Indians without spice cannot be imagined. And meat is much cheaper in Germany compared to vegetarian food, which is also quite different from my country.
Mozambique is more or less similar to Indonesia. For example, the food, they have the food there, they call, I'm not remember what they call, but in Indonesia we call it rendang, and the taste is almost the same. And their main dish are rice, same with Indonesia, and so do the Brazilian, they eat rice also. In the, what you call, the book of travel guide, and they said that in ancient time, Indonesian people came to Mozambique. That's why the culture is almost the same with Indonesia. So they have influence from the culture of Indonesia. It's so exciting for me that to know that Mozambique is almost the same with Indonesian culture.
I really, really like natural peanut butter. And that's something that I can't find an Israeli brand that I like. So whenever my parents come to visit me from the US, they bring for me natural peanut butter. And I know that a lot of Americans have this issue that whenever someone comes to visit from the USA to Israel, they ask them to bring a special food that they can't get in Israel.
So I'm vegetarian.
Oh, yeah.
So every Mexican would say to me or would ask me, so you won't find anything in Mexico without meat, but it's not true. So there are a lot of foods, very, very, very yummy foods in Mexico, traditional food which I can eat. For example, gorditas, which are filled with potato or with cactus or with other vegetables or cheese and so on, or tlayudas, which is a fried tortilla, a huge one with cheese and avocado and so on, and all the fruits there. It's very delicious. And also, although I love Germany too, but the food is better in Mexico, I guess, because the people still take a lot of time in order to prepare meals.
I went to hospital because I cannot stand with only eating bread every morning, because I'm getting used to eat rice in Indonesia 3 times a day. And I just cannot stand it with the hard bread, and the brown one from German bread. It really makes me feel sick about it, and I went to hospital. The ambulance even come to pick me up in the dormitory. And before that, I was asking for help from my friend in the dormitory, but he cannot speak English, and I cannot speak German either. So we're just talking with hands and everything. Said that I really cannot stand with my stomach is really painful. He still cannot understand and just say, please call someone who can speak English. And then suddenly, and finally he realized that it cannot work with our language. And then I went to the hospital by ambulance, and I stayed for 3 days there, and then it was really terrible because also the doctor cannot speak English, so he cannot tell me actually where is it. And then my friend from the Netherlands called the doctor and said, something in German, and yeah, and then he picked me up from the hospital. Yeah, it was really terrible experience.
When I talk to the people in Bangladesh that I've gotten a scholarship in Germany, and they say, wow, but Germany people are very strict and they do not speak English, so how you could survive? So when I enter into the airport, even the police officer said, welcome. I was really surprised that they just directly said to me, welcome. So that makes me thinking in a different direction. Okay, so what I heard in Bangladesh regarding Germany is turned out that it's a completely different environment here. So we came to the university, the very warm regards and greetings from the institute that we had, Hausle Cologne, and then we get to know each other with lots of different people. So the impression that I got is very different.
Greeting people on the road, unknown people on the road, and saying hello. And finally, in the buses, to sit next to male passengers. In India, we have the structure where we sit according to gender, but here it was together. And then also to greet people by hugging. Shaking hands is something which is coming into vogue in my country too, but hugging was the next step.
It's quite difficult to become friends with your German. In German, there's a word Bekannte, means some people you know, but you are not friend. And for them, friends, friend, classmates, classmate, colleagues, colleague, or like Bekannte, just the people you know is just the people you know. And in my culture, sometimes you meet someone, maybe you just talk for like an hour, but you feel like connected, or if we're friends, and we really call each other friends. But this concept cannot be applied in Germany. And sometimes when I meet this person, I think we have some nice conversation, so I take this person as friend. But in the end, I found this person doesn't take me as a friend, which really hurt my feeling.
Yes.
So I will say, if you come to study in Germany and you're from Asian culture, you need to be mentally strong, and you need to remember you'll be refused for many times, and it's really, very difficult to become a close friend of Germany.
People were very excited to meet an American so they could practice their English. And so I had a great experience that I would be able to practice my Hebrew and they would practice their English with me. So I was very well received, thankfully.
Well received, yes.
So when we have profiling in there, in the first time I arrived in the Macaneta Beach where the profiling, we did the profiling, and what the Brazilian students do is they just using underpants and the girls only use bikinis, while all the Indonesian all using long shirt or long dresses, so we are just shocked to saw about that. That's unforgettable memories for me.
So with food, I think the main problem that a lot of people have when they come to Israel from the US or from another country is navigating the language and how to acquire food that way, and reading the labels in the other language and figuring out prices. And one of the issues is that in Israel a lot of the stores are closed Friday night and Saturday for the Jewish Sabbath. But for me personally, none of those were issues for me, because for the language I had a basic comprehension of it before I came, and I understood how to exchange the exchange rate between the US dollars and Israeli shekel, and I myself do not purchase food from Friday night to Saturday, so I didn't have to deal with trying to go and find food and it wasn't available to me. In the US, when I was in university there, we would have very, very cold winters with a lot of snow, and very hot and humid summers. And in Israel, it gets cold, but not so much because of the weather, but because of the infrastructure of the buildings. And I lived in the desert, in a city in the desert, so we would get sandstorms a lot. So there would be days where you couldn't really see in front of you.
When I was in public transport, I was alone with my hijab, and then there's one grandmother, like really old, speaking to me in German, and I think that she's kind of angry or something, and then suddenly she just yelled at me and said that I'm a terrorist. And I went out and I was crying, and it's really shocking, and I was thinking, oh, I think it's not a good idea to go around with my long hijab there, or maybe just unfortunately it's not the right time. But yeah, those two experiences really makes me kind of, I don't feel like home in the beginning, but in the end I have so many friends from different cultures, and it was really nice to meet them and talk about their opinion about everything, many things. Yeah.
All the people have reasons in order to celebrate every day or every week, and you won't stay alone for a long time, so you will always meet friends. And on the other hand, Mexico has a very dark side, so it has a high grade of violence and of hunger and poverty and so on. And you can see both sides of the country every day. So the very good and positive side of Mexico, with a high value of the national traditions. And on the other hand, when you go through the streets, or when I go through the streets, I'm always kind of tense, because I'm afraid, so that could happen something. And when I fly to Mexico, for example, and I arrive on the airport, I take all my expensive stuff off. Yes. And change my clothes and put my stuff out of my European bag into a little Mexican traditional bag and things like that, so that nobody sees me as a rich European person. And when I come back to Germany, then I feel freedom, because I feel safe on the streets. So both countries, Mexico and Germany, have very, very positive sides and also negative sides for me. So I spend time on the streets with the people drinking fresh fruit juice, for example, and or I share with them time on the streets eating tortillas and so on. And in Germany, well, I'm more in my house, or I meet with friends in a bar or something like that.
So I did my BA in the US, and my experience in the Israeli university was 1 year of taking bachelor's courses to prepare me for my master's, because I switched departments. And so I had the experience of taking bachelor's courses in the US and in Israel, and it's very, very different. In the US, the degree is 4 years long, and you have almost 2 years of taking courses that aren't in your specialty, and like English, math, science, everything to give you kind of a core background in a lot of different subjects before you spend the last 2 years focusing on your specific field. And in the Israeli university, almost all of your courses are in your specific field, and you don't really take more than 3 or 4 alternative subjects. And I much preferred the American system because I was able to get a background in a lot of other subjects before I specialized in my field.
Yeah, the student here, they ask more questions and they are not afraid of asking stupid questions. And for us, is either we don't want to ask in front of people, or we think maybe our question is too stupid, and maybe we can just check after the class, or we can discuss with the classmate later, or ask the teacher after the course.
The interaction between the teacher and the student is much more interactive. So we had in Bangladeshi culture, when we speak in a professor, we have to always like this, sir, we have to always make this. If we try to speak a professor, we have to always say, sir, then we start, and very politely and very respectively. So here we have different perspective right now. We experience that they are much more friendly, very close and much more open. That makes you to open the door of learning a new process. So you can really discuss with the professor that what is your problem, how to deal with some issues. Even it goes beyond from the educational to the personal aspect. So they also try to help individual how to make life comfortable.
I have the feeling that there's a big difference between Asia and Latin American students. Okay, I also only experienced Latin American students here in Germany or during the JSP, so it might be different inside their country. And I see also the difference to the German students. I think it's mainly that the students in East Asia normally a little bit more waiting for what the teacher says to them. So they are more, a little bit more, let's say, I don't want to use the word careful, more, let's say, waiting for the teacher telling them what they should do and how they should understand something. The students from Latin America, from my experience, are quite different. They are a lot more fast forward in the beginning, and I think also the German students there are also more fast forward and have a stronger opinion in the beginning.
I think the heterogeneous groups are good as long as there is a project work based learning environment.
Yes.
And it's true that people bring not only their individual knowledge and expertise in the subject matter itself, but also there are a lot of other things like what you said, culture, this learning environment, how to interact with people, how to develop the methodology to solve a problem, and those kind of things might be definitely very beneficial. I mean, I think you already know a lot of examples from universities in the USA, like Harvard and so on. They're always using this kind of intercultural team of group and working together and to produce better results.
In the environment of higher education, we need soft skills that is not strictly the subject matter students are learning. I mean by that writing skills, presentation skills, conversation skills, critical thinking skills. Do you think such skills differ much from one society to the other, or most of higher education students have the same or very similar soft skills?
In my experience, I would say there is not much differences if you are talking students of the same level. What I mean is like bachelor level, bachelor, master's,
Yes.
and doctor level. I would say there is not much differences. But in that case, in case of communication and writing papers and so on, language plays always a big role. In that case, it is always different. The people coming from, in terms of English, like coming from the USA or England, and it's completely different than if someone is coming from Nepal, India or China. So language plays a big role in that sense. Otherwise, I don't see big differences in my students.
Yeah, what can I say? It's for me. It's always a very
exciting,
rewarding, and exciting situation to meet those people in person. And well, while they are abroad, there is always some contact. But I think the most important, or for me, the very interesting part is to see the feedback after they return back home. So what we ask of them is a little report where they talk about their experiences, and that is something where I really get something out of it. So we see what the people did abroad and how their experience was. And for most of them, they are very, very excited about it, and they are kind of thankful as well for the opportunity they got. And a lot of them, they say it's a lifetime experience for them.
In the reports they are submitting to you, Anna, do you find any mentioning of cultural experiences, or all their comments is related to the technical stuff? Do they mention anything about living experiences, different cultures, things like that?
Actually, they do a lot. So they tell me about how they made friends overseas, and how they were welcome, and about the hospitality of the people abroad. Also, they tell me that they get to learn a new language, that they learn different things about the culture abroad. It begins with food and it ends maybe with religion. So it's the whole spectrum that they actually really touch, and not only touch but really dive into, and that is something that they really appreciate.
Okay. In the reports they sent you, do they speak generally on general subject, or some of them may refer in the report about a personal experience with living in a different culture? Are these things in any way reported by one or two or some of them?
Well, it depends. First, they are asked to name all the curricular activities that they had, so the modules that they took, and also about extra curricular activities. And then we asked of them to describe what the scholarship means for them, what it meant for them personally and also academically and professionally for their future.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Anna, for this, but I want to ask you my last question. Before they go for this academic trip, do they have any book from CNRD telling them it's a guideline, some guidelines about going to a different culture? And in these guidelines, do you mention anything cultural related to religion, language, food, and some of the things you mentioned?
Okay, so first let me speak for the students who come here to Germany. So we prepared a guideline for them, and it also touches, besides all the formalities involved into the exchange, it also touches the cultural things. So for example, we give them an idea how the local food is like, and we give them some hints where they can have for example, some Facebook groups that deal with foreign people here in Cologne and stuff like that. So we provide it to them, and actually a lot of other CNRD universities have such a guideline as well. However, I have to say not all of them provided it yet, and we are still waiting for some universities to give us.
We in Brazil we count like this, as actually in whole Latin America, as our friends here can say, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you find out that in Germany people are strange, and they count like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And just yesterday we found out that some Egyptian people,
yes, Dr. Gardiri.
Like 1, 2, 3. I just now we have to find someone that count like 1, 2, 3, and then we'll be everything there.
Okay, the section shows how to point things in different places. So we Latin America we use the fingers just to point.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use the foot to point something. And then we discovered that in Thailand, for example, that's quite respectless to do so.
Yeah.
And I have some friends that do like with the mouth to show that you should go there or there. And that sometimes they have trouble because the people understand wrong.
Yeah. The hand has 5 fingers. In Egypt, when you do something like that, means perfect. But if you do it like this, it means there is something. I will show you something. I will give you a lesson, something like that. It's a warning sign. I don't know about other cultures. How we do like this means. Yeah. And also, yesterday, the taxi driver, when we were going to eat falafel, he wanted to make a sign with his hand to show the guy he did something like that. It is the same thing but different position, and it means falafel here, which I also added this to my dictionary. Beautiful stuff.
I have another meaning for this thing.
Yeah.
So in Brazil, if this could means okay, that's great. Not everybody understands this, but if you do in this direction, unfortunately I cannot say what it means. And like this means even worse.
Yes.
One more?
Yeah,
so when you're in England, you should never order beer or something to drink like this.
Yes.
But only like that. The meaning behind that is when they had somewhere in the medieval times France against the British, when there were the French bullfighters, and they were always shooting the bows like that. And when they caught one of the bullfighters, the British caught the French bullfighter, they cut off the fingers that he could not shoot any arrows anymore. And that's why you should never order like this, but only like that.
Wow, this is very interesting.
I have one.
Okay, Sabina.
Another meaning, another side in German to say that you are a bit crazy is, which means, in the direct translation, you have a bird in your head.
You have a bird in your head doing this. Yeah.
But in Brazil, means that you think that you are intelligent, that you use your mind.
We use the same thing in Egypt. Finger like this means yes.
Hey, think about it.
You see my hand? Yeah. Hi. So I learned from my Egyptian student colleagues that when somebody is meant to be crazy or not a little weird, they do it like this.
Yes.
And in Germany, we do it like this.
And we do it like this.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, this is what they say when someone is crazy. You are crazy.
Yes.
They also look like this.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, in Indonesia, something like this means you are crazy.
Oh, thank you very much. Actually, the noise that coming from the sheep in Arabic or in Egyptian is ma. Ma. Yeah. And how about in Poland?
I don't know.
Meh.
Yeah, meh is out.
Because you have to see the difference between the goat and the sheep. So the goat would be meh.
What? I did not
in
get
Polish it's meh.
Like if you play with a baby, you say kitty, 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 something like that. How do you like talk to baby, make him laugh or persuade him to eat? And we say
And the dog in Egypt?
How?
In Poland?
How?
German?
Wow, wow.
And in Brazil? Ow, ow.
Ow, ow.
Mexico. Wow, wow. That is the
male chicken. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
And in Poland? Cocorico. German?
Kikriki.
And Brazil? Cocoroco. So different than from our friend from Nicaragua and most of the other countries in Latin America. In Brazil, we ask what? Like doing like this. What do you mean? And then you
yes.
Or it can also mean, depending on the context, something good.
Serei mais alegre, serei tão feliz. Eu sempre fiz pra ser tão bom. Sou mais amado, vizinho do lado. Também tomava flores, mas delegado. Vou fazer sucesso com essa canção. Hoje eu sou mais eu e quero ser feliz. O tempo não para.